Hey, I'm Lyn Lapid, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I am reunited with Lyn Lapid, and I'm so happy to be talking to you. The last time we spoke, the first time we spoke, it was quite a rush of a day. Backstage at Head in the Clouds, you were excited. First, I think you had mentioned this was your first festival experience, so you were definitely excited for that.
Yes.
How have you been?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much has changed. I recently moved to Los Angeles over here. Wrote a whole album. Everything's kind of just been crazy ever since. It's crazy that it's been like almost 2 years now since we last saw each other. But yeah, a lot has been going on.
Time definitely flew, and the debut album is finally here.
Yeah.
I'm excited, so I'm sure you're ecstatic about it.
Yes.
Diving into this album, and which is titled Buzzkill. Diving into this album, you know, you've had so much experience releasing music, performing, tours. So as you go into this record, how do you think that those experiences kind of like allowed you to change your writing process or see the music differently, because now you actually pictured an audience in front of you? You pictured, you know, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, when I was writing this album, I was writing it solely for the purpose of it to be played live. And I intentionally had left, you know, a lot of the music tracks leaning heavily towards bass, keys, drums, and guitar, because that's my band setup when I go on tour. And so all of the songs, honestly, on the album kind of lean in that direction and are very minimal. And for this album, I really wanted to do more with less.
And you did do more with less, but you also gave us more with your voice too. I feel like you got to try different tones, try different ways of singing. You give us some low ranges, you give us some higher ranges. I think the last track you're kind of closing it out with a falsetto. So as far as like your vocal ranges and tones on this record, do you feel like it was a natural progression for you? Do you feel like it was something that you really had to go into the studio and kind of practice to be able to sing the way that you did on this record?
I feel like with a lot of the tracks, I was excited to finally utilize my lower range, which I don't think I was able to use in my previous songs or projects. So diving into that kind of part of my range was really cool to hear on the tracks. And I feel like when I was going into the studio, I wanted to challenge myself with, you know, where I can go differently sonically. And usually I would go into the studio with ukulele and have like 2 chords in the back in my back pocket ready to go. But I wanted to be more collaborative with this album and kind of just bounce off of, you know, the producers, writers in the room, and kind of just have it be like a collaborative team effort. And so I feel like all of these songs on the album very much showcase that. And I think I'm excited for my listeners to see that as well.
As far as collaborators for this album, there's different producers that I see on there. There's different writing credits that I see that you got to collaborate with. How did these individuals help you during this process? You mentioned you wanted to step out of the comfort zone and challenge yourself. So like, how do you feel that they allowed you to do that, but yet still be comfortable doing what you were doing? Because I feel like this album is more personal than ever.
Yeah. I feel like over the years, I've garnered a really small community of producers and writers that I love working with, and all of them are on this album, and it's so cool to see all of essentially my friends just on one project together. But I think because I have known these incredibly talented producers and co-writers, I was able to really open up and be as vulnerable as I was in the project. And yeah.
So when we last spoke at Head in the Clouds, you said 21st Century was basically a situationship. That's how you described the album.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you're describing this album, or how you would describe this album.
Yeah, I feel like visually the last project, To Love in the 21st Century, was around a situationship, and I feel like visually we kind of illustrated it in a way to be a rom-com. So if the last project was a rom-com, I would say that this album is more of a documentary of my life.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you know, showcasing the very vulnerable, personal, good and bad aspects of my personal life, moving to Los Angeles for the first time, you know, moments and feelings of isolation and self-discovery and eventually self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've released a couple songs already on this record. I'll Be Happy Then is one that like really sticks out to me. Take me into that creative process for that song. It's different. It's different from what we've heard from you before.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you came into that writing process, did you know that you were trying something different? Was this one of those songs that you didn't even know you were writing and it just happened in the studio? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, I went into the studio and working for the very first time with very talented producers, Nick and Jason and M. Byhold, which is really, really fun. And we were kind of just like bonding
I love
over.
how you just said Jason. It's Jason Suido, by the way.
Yes.
Not just Jason.
Jason Suido, yes.
The Jason Suido.
The Jason Suido. Love you, Jason. But yeah, it was our first time working together, and I was just telling them about my experience writing the album and living in Los Angeles. And M, who I'm so grateful to have met in the room, was so understanding of my situation and I was really able to bounce off of her with, you know, all of these emotions that I was feeling. And, you know, this album is probably the most personal project that I've put out there. And it's crazy to see how, you know, we as a collaborative effort clicked so easily and was able to just like make a record on the album that was, you know, showcasing that really raw and vulnerable side of my personality. And yeah, it was honestly, you know, when I go into sessions not having met the people before, it's a bit scary to be that vulnerable. But I just remember leaving that room loving this song and loving the melodies that we were creating. And we did like this really fun gang vocal moment where we just yelled into the microphone for like 10 minutes, and that was really fun. And honestly, it was just a really healing process.
Yeah. It's cool. You mentioned vulnerable a lot during this conversation, and one of the songs that really sticks out to me is Backup Plan.
Yeah.
I feel like that is one of those perfect examples of less is more situation. You gave me this more vulnerable side, but at the same time, towards the closing of the song, I loved how it just kept evolving. It kept escalating. And it was just an incredible track. The piano was incredible with your voice as well. So with this single, with this track, would you say that it was harder because now we were focusing on not just your story, but your voice?
Yeah. I feel like with how vulnerable that track is, I found it quite easy to kind of just let all my thoughts spill out, because that one was with my good friends Annie and Davin, which I'm so grateful to work with. And, you know, I feel like lyrically it kind of just flowed out of us. I feel like the most challenging part was the vocal aspect. And I don't belt on my songs quite often. So, you know, I just remember being in the studio just like figuring out placement and healthy way to, you know, get up there, which I don't usually do. But yeah, it took a couple of days to finish, but it's honestly one of my favorite tracks on the album, because it's just I love when songs like start like very intimate and small, and then it kind of just like explode.
Just builds up and explodes.
Yeah. And I remember loving every process of writing that song.
Yeah, no, when I listened to it, I exploded. I was like, this is insane. Like, I think this is probably one of those tracks that I see could be like a big single.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, maybe.
You were talking about just your voice, like the pockets in a sense of like your lyrics. And I do notice it throughout this body of work, like that you do change the way that you sing. You do change the way that you deliver your cadences. So was that something that you've been actively trying to do with your music, or do you feel like it just fit perfectly with this body of work because, like you said, it's more of a personal record?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just challenging myself again. And I really wanted to, I remember going to the studio just being like, what is the weirdest chord progression you could think of? And what is the weirdest melody that we could think of? And can we put lyrics to it? And I feel like so many of the songs showcase that. And yeah, a lot of the album was challenging vocally, and I'm excited to see how my listeners will respond to that when we play the album live on tour. But yeah, honestly, it was a really big challenge, but I think it was, I guess, showcase of me evolving in my music.
How would you say that you've evolved in the songwriting on this record?
Ooh, I feel like for this one, I think I was also trying to do more with less with the lyrics, you know. Before, I think I would try to have so many double meanings in my lyrics, and I was so picky about, you know, what the song lyrics should be in a song, and trying to like take control of that in the room. But I feel like with this project, I was definitely trying to be more collaborative and kind of just bouncing off of the people, the friends that I was working with in the room. And yeah.
I want to dive a little more on the lyrics, because there was, I want to say it was Fix, the honey reference.
Yes.
I was like, sweet like honey, but you don't like, I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember it right now, but you like the sweetness of the honey, but you don't like the residue. I was like, whew, that's like relationships today.
Yeah, I wrote that one. I just remember writing that down. And, you know, the song is about like being in a relationship with someone who is afraid of commitment, and you know, navigating that. And so that entire second verse, I feel like we were just spitting and just, you know, I love the "you want the honey without the residue" line, because it's just representative of that kind of relationship and how frustrating it is. And yeah,
that was brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Like it shows how like your songwriting has evolved. Going back to when you first started to get that rise with your single that blew up on social media, that time you got to collaborate with Dan Nigro, which is an incredible producer.
Yes.
During that experience of Producer Man and working with Dan in the studio, how did he allow you to kind of learn more about yourself in the process? And how would you say that he challenged you in that song?
It was funny because I remember just texting him, and
that's it. I gotta text Dan.
we texted just, and we never had like a Zoom session or nothing. We kind of just like collaborated on text, and I sent him the vocals on text. And mind you, this was my first single, so I had no idea what I was doing and had no idea what the process was. But Dan was so understanding and knew exactly what my creative vision was, and, you know, knew that I was very much starting out, and was able to take, you know, the bare bones of what I had posted on social media and kind of just create it into this really amazing and, you know, cohesive track, and very minimal track, I would say. But I'm so grateful to Dan for being like essentially my first collaboration on my artist project.
Yeah, that's a huge way to like start up with your debut single.
Yeah, crazy with Dan Nigro.
Yeah,
crazy.
that's wild. Now this album drops April 25th. In May you kick off tour in Europe. So how excited are you for the Buzzkill tour, and how different is this going to be? You've been touring for some time already. You've tasted different stages, different festivals.
Yeah.
But how different would this tour be for your fans, for your audience?
Yeah, I feel like because I had made this album with the sole purpose of for it to be played live, I think the listeners will see how well it really translates live. We just finished tour rehearsals this week, and all of these songs just they go so hard live, I think, because I had intended for it to be that way. And I think before, with my performances, I was really trying to find my style on stage and my performing style, and trying to do so much with so much, and just like moving around and jumping around. But I feel like this album and this tour, again, I think I want to do more with less, and kind of just, you know, have the concert be immersed just solely with the music and the lyrics and the melodies and the chords and the band. And so I think I think we do that really well with this tour, and I'm excited for my fans to come out to the shows.
Nice. When I mention your name, all the kababayan get excited. So I'm curious, like, any plans for going back to the Philippines? I know the last time you were in the Philippines, you got to hang out with SB19.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh, that was so crazy. It was a brief meeting, but they were so nice. And going back home to the Philippines was just feels like home. Everything about it, everyone's so friendly and hospitable, and the food is just so much better there than in the States. I honestly can't wait to go back. I want to go back as soon as possible just to see my family again.
Yeah.
And just have the good food again.
Yes.
But yeah, I really miss home.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm excited to catch you on tour. I'm excited to see this album live.
Yeah.
And you guys be sure to check out Lyn Lapid. New album, Buzzkill, is out April 25th. Probably out by the time you guys are watching this, but catch her on tour. And thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.